People love competing. This has been true for a very long time, and it's something that we see in everybody to some degree. Whether that be children wrestling for fun or adults competing in the workplace, we all have that drive. So it was only natural that this would be a part of gaming. Although the level that it has reached today might be a bit bigger than what most people anticipated. Esports has gotten huge over the past decade, with this past year having surpassed $1 billion in revenue across the different businesses built around it. With competitive games being some of the most played at any given time, it's pretty safe to say that people not only enjoy watching events, but they also enjoy competing. It's become an anomaly for a competitive game to be released without ranked modes, as without these, it's difficult to know whether you're actually good at the game or if you're just a kid that beats all your friends in Smash. This confirmation of your position is why whenever a ranked mode is missing, it quickly becomes a huge request by any community. The effect is so strong that I still remember how big of a talking point it was in the month between Overwatch released and the ranked mode being rolled out. But when our prayers are answered by developers and we enter a ranked mode, it's quite often that we find ourselves being placed lower on the ladder than we'd like. Which means there is only one way to fix that: to tell the developers to fix their ranking system. Just kidding, it's to improve. And this is the reason why teaching games is such a big thing. Whether it's people making YouTube tutorials about certain concepts within a game, analyzing professional gameplay, streaming their own gameplay, or even holding actual lessons where people pay by the hour. All of this is possible because improving is difficult. It's not something that we're explicitly taught in school, as those years were often simply filled with knowledge. And in my personal case, most of the experiences with after-school sports and hobbies are generally filled with memories of being told to do things. And don't get me wrong, doing things is a necessity when trying to improve. And if you are told to do the correct things and you do those things enough times, you will most likely end up becoming quite good at it. But it doesn't necessarily leave you in a position where you know why you got good. And this might be especially difficult when learning video games, as the presentation can oftentimes be very confusing, high-paced, or some might call it bombastic. But in these new age times, we still have some options for simplicity. What's interesting about Tetris is the fact that it manages to create a space where the skill ceiling is practically unreachable while also having a simple concept that is easily understandable. This simple concept and clear readability of the game state allows you to focus your mind on one thing, which is the fundamental aspects of: how do I efficiently clear the lines to improve my score or send garbage to my opponents? With this being so clear, I have personally never seen how my abilities follow the mastery curve so clearly. The mastery curve is a visualization of how people tend to improve skills. This is usually illustrated in bursts, which are followed by a slight dip with a following plateau. This generally happens because doing new things takes a lot out of us, and we need to get accustomed to a concept and do it multiple times before we become efficient at it. When people start playing Tetris, they tend to drift towards the strategy of building in such a way that they create a single well where they plan on dropping the line piece in order to get a Tetris. This works well as an introduction for players as they get accustomed to the controls, playing a bit faster and planning out their next moves. It's around this time where the person might start wanting to actively improve and might even be introduced to T-spins. A T-spin is when you set up two lines with a T-piece-shaped hole in them and an overhang. This allows you to slot in a T-piece in a way that might look like you're forcing the piece in. Clearing lines in this way is very efficient, and learning it gives you access to options that you didn't know about before. So we read up on the theory behind it until we feel like we've gotten a grasp of it, and once we feel confident enough to try it ourselves, we go into the game and we end up failing spectacularly. At this point, we've hit a dip in our supposed skill level because playing the game takes more out of us since we're getting out of our comfort zone and thinking about things that we didn't used to concern ourselves with. It's easy to get dejected here and give up, but it's a necessary hit for us to reach the next plateau. When looking at the mastery curve, we see that we are more than likely going to be stuck on a skill level for a while, until doing T-spins become as natural for us as creating a well for a line block to fit into. This all leads us back into a theme that I've come back to multiple times on this channel. The fact that we shouldn't be too hard on ourselves. Whenever we're learning something new, we should allow ourselves the time we need in order to improve on whatever we've set our eyes on. And who knows? Maybe at some point we'll see ourselves reaching heights that we weren't expecting. As you may have gathered from watching this video, I really like Tetris and would recommend it to anybody. But if you are completely uninterested in it, then I'd urge you to apply this way of thinking to whatever is the game of your choice. First step for this is to break the game down into the different applicable aspects of the game. For things like MOBAs, it might be complaining about champion selects, ELO hell, and your teammates just not supporting you correctly because they're not smart enough to understand that if they would just get out of your way, you'd be able to carry them to victory. But you might not want to take my word for it. On a more serious note, the skill of learning is something that you should apply to anything that you want to improve on. And by applying yourself to something and becoming better, you also become better at becoming better. Learning this isn't something that should be done in order to prove one's worth, but rather something you do in order to set yourself up for success once you find something that interests you enough to make you really want to learn. If you have gotten interested in Tetris and want to see some really mind-blowing gameplay, then I'd recommend checking out Doremi or Wombo Ties here on YouTube. And if you want to dip your toes into learning some concepts that might not be clear off the bat, then I'd highly recommend checking out the Puyo Puyo Tetris Sega tutorials that can be found on their channel. You can find links for all of the channels I mentioned in the description. Thanks for watching this video. As always, I'd like to start out by thanking you for sticking around for this long and give the floor to you by encouraging you to help me on my journey of improving my abilities as a content creator by leaving feedback in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video or see potential in what I'm doing, then please leave a like and/or subscribe. Good luck with whatever you are trying to learn. Thank you. Have a great day.